Wind roars across the rooftop as the helicopter's blades whirl to life, a silver blur against the stormy sky. Naomi Ellis shields her face, her clipboard rattling in her hand. "Mr. Langford!" she shouts, her voice straining over the thunder of metal. Victor Langford, in his tailored suit and tinted glasses, strides toward the chopper, barking into his phone. "Tell them I'll be in the air in 2 minutes. I don't wait for anyone." Naomi breaks past the guards, panic in her eyes. "Sir, don't get in the helicopter." Security blocks her path. "Back off, lady." One growls, but she pushes forward anyway. "It's not safe. Something's wrong with the fuel line," she pleads, her voice trembling but firm. Victor turns, amused. "You're just an intern. Do you even know what a turbine is?" Naomi's hands shake, but she doesn't back down. "You won't survive takeoff," she yells again. The guards grab her arm, but then she points to the tail rotor, her voice cracking through the storm. And when every head turned to look, even the pilot's face went white. The night before, Naomi sat alone in the hangar office, the flicker of fluorescent lights glinting off her clipboard. Rows of inspection logs lay open in front of her, numbers, codes, and signatures most people would never notice. But she saw it. A tiny mismatch in a fuel delivery record, the same anomaly she'd seen years ago in her father's last flight report. Her co-workers had long stopped questioning her late nights. "You're too careful, Ellis," one mechanic teased. "No one's going to check the paperwork that hard." She'd only smiled faintly. "That's what my dad thought, too." Her supervisor brushed off her concerns the next morning. "You think Langford's fleet has faulty fuel lines?" "Come on, Naomi. These are billion-dollar machines." But when she reviewed the files again, her stomach dropped. The same falsified fuel certification, copied line for line. Someone had cut corners, and Victor Langford, known for his impatience and ego, was about to fly in that very helicopter. Naomi grabbed her inspection notes, heart pounding. She didn't care if she got fired. She couldn't live with watching another name go into a report that ended in flames. By the time she reached the helipad, the sound of rotor blades had already begun to echo across the skyline. The wind whipped against her face as she broke through security tape, yelling his name. She wasn't supposed to be there, but she knew. One more minute of silence could mean someone else's death. She thought she was saving a man's life, but what she was about to uncover went far beyond an engine flaw. Victor laughs, his voice sharp against the roar of the blades. "You think I'm flying death traps? I own the company that built this machine." The executives chuckle nervously. Phones rise, some filming, some pretending not to. Naomi's cheeks flush red, but she doesn't back away. "Sir, I'm not asking you to believe me. Just look." The pilot hesitates, glancing between them. "She's talking about the tail assembly?" Naomi nods. She drops to her knees, wiping the grease along the tail rotor mount. Her hand moves fast, confident. She pulls away a streak of dark sludge, exposing a thin metal fitting, dented, mismatched, and wrong. "This valve doesn't belong to this model," she says. One mechanic in the background goes pale. Naomi turns to him. "You didn't install this part, did you?" He swallows hard, shaking his head. "No. It came pre-fitted." Victor's grin falters. "What are you implying?" Naomi stands, her voice steady now. "I'm saying this isn't a mistake. It's sabotage." The laughter dies. A few steps back. Even the hum of the helicopter seems to dull. She pulls a small serial tag from the valve, engraved numbers smudged by grease. Her fingers tremble as she reads it aloud. This part was recalled after the Fairview crash. 4 people died because of it. The crowd stiffens. The pilot lowers his gaze. Sweat beads on his temple. Naomi looks at him sharply. "You checked this engine, didn't you?" He hesitates, then whispers, I was told not to log the modification." Victor turns toward him slowly, the color draining from his face. "What would you do if you were there? Believe the intern, or trust the billionaire's pride?" And then the pilot took off his headset and said something that made the rooftop go silent. The pilot lowers his headset, eyes filled with guilt. "Mr. Langford, your assistant ordered cheaper replacement parts last week. I was told to install them and sign off quietly." A stunned murmur ripples through the executives. Victor turns slowly toward his assistant, disbelief twisting into fury. "Is that true?" Naomi pulls up the digital maintenance log on her tablet, her fingers steady despite the chaos. "Here," she says softly, zooming in. 2 signatures. One genuine, one forged. Both under your assistant's login. The assistant's composure cracks. He steps back toward the stairwell. "This is ridiculous." "She's making it up." Naomi steps between him and the exit, her voice cutting through the whir of the still spinning blades. "You nearly killed him." "For a bonus." Silence. The assistant's face drains of color. Victor's chest rises and falls heavily. He looks around at his staff, his guards, his empire, and finally at Naomi. "You just saved my life," he says, the arrogance gone from his voice. The faint wail of sirens climbs from the street below. Someone must have called the police. Victor turns to the helicopter, his reflection glinting in the polished red frame. "Ground it," he orders. "Every single one until we find out who's been cutting corners." Naomi nods, shoulders relaxing for the first time, but her eyes still hold fire. Share this if you still believe courage speaks louder than power. As the sound of the helicopter blades dies out, Victor glances at her once more. "You said you lost your father in a crash like this," he says quietly. "Tell me, Naomi, why did you come back to work in this field?" And for the first time that night, Naomi didn't have an easy answer. A week later, the headlines flashed across every business network. Langford Aviation Ground's entire luxury fleet after safety scandal. Naomi watched the report from her small apartment, coffee growing cold beside her. Her phone buzzed, a message from Victor Langford himself. "You were right. We're recalling everything. I want you to lead the safety division." When she arrived at his office the next morning, she was met not with arrogance, but humility. Victor stood by the window, the skyline reflecting in the glass. "You saved my company," he said. "And maybe a few lives I'll never know about." Naomi shook her head gently. "I'll take the job, but only if I can rewrite the rules that let this happen." He nodded without hesitation. Months later, Naomi stood behind a podium at the International Aviation Safety Summit. Her voice was calm, clear, resonating through the vast hall. In the front row sat Victor, listening, not speaking for once. "My father used to say," she began, "machines don't fail people. People fail people. When they stop listening." The crowd rose in applause. Cameras flashed, but Naomi's eyes found one seat, empty, the kind her father once sat in during local town meetings about flight safety. Later, as she walked back to the helipad where it all began, the wind lifted the pages of her inspection report. She smiled softly and whispered, "Not this time, Dad." Behind her, the sign on the hangar door now read, "The Ellis Aviation Safety Fund, founded by Victor Langford in her honor." Naomi looked up at the sky, the faint hum of another helicopter in the distance, steady and strong. Subscribe for more stories where courage grounds the impossible. What if the truth that saves lives is the one the world almost ignored?